From the booth. We in the booth.
From the booth, we are here with Xzavier Minium, Phil Davis, as we get things underway. Pat O'Brien, of course, with Ryan Brandt. Guys, welcome. Good to have you here. This is the first
You're the
podcast.
First, the first guest.
No pressure on that way. My first question always is, how often do people mispronounce your name? No. Coach Davis.
Not too often.
Not too often.
I misspell it, but
You were set up. You were just set up. Sorry.
Do they mispronounce your name, though? Do you notice that in school or on the PA and basketball introductions?
Yeah, a little bit.
What do they say?
Xzavier, Javier, Minimum.
Minimum.
Minium is honestly the one that I always hear them say wrong. Like the minimum.
Yeah,
That bothered you? You even worry about it?
I don't really care.
Yeah. I mean, has it been like forever? Like in school, kindergarten class, they go, minimum, and they really. But so it's kind of just numb to you.
Yeah.
What about you, Coach? Did you get that name wrong when you first met him? Do you remember? Did he get it wrong? No? You're on top of it?
I've misspelled his first name wrong a couple times, inadvertently not putting the Z in after the X, but no, I've never mispronounced it wrong.
I've done the same.
What about in the newspaper? They spell it wrong?
Oh, yeah.
All the time, I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just go off of whatever they think it is. Yeah, but doesn't bother you.
No.
It's all good.
They know the name.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
all
no.
that matters. Is they're trying. There's a reason to put the name into the paper or
That's a good thing.
on
Yeah.
air.
Yeah.
Big week for you guys. It's Wednesday. How you feeling about the preparation for the big game? Feeling good?
Yeah, I feel good.
Yeah.
I've had 2 good days of practice so far this week, so I feel real good about where we're at right now.
Coming to your place. That's nice. Yeah.
Always nice to play there,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Homecoming.
Is it really? The whole festivities and everything. Are you on the court? Homecoming court?
Yeah.
Are you really?
Yeah.
So
You
when
got
you,
to skip that. You got to be in the locker room
I agree.
ready to go.
is that at the beginning of the game they do the intro, or is it at halftime?
The beginning, I'm pretty
Oh, okay. So they do get that out of it. They used to do it at halftime.
Some schools still do, but we do it. Like we'll probably have to be out the field 6:20 or so, and then they'll start all those festivities and do all that stuff.
That's the way to go.
Now,
You do it.
You have concern about that at all?
No.
You know, coaches, the Friday off of school, you have the concern of the change in the ritual.
Yeah, we'll be in school this week though. So
Yeah.
we-
But I just mean
we
the
have a pretty-
beginning of the game different and the way the start of everything is your routine.
We have a pretty mature team, and really in that time frame that I think it's you and Dylan.
Yeah.
So that those 2 guys are out on the field. We'll be, that's kind of their time to get themselves mentally and physically ready to go for the last part of it. So I kind of let them go and, do whatever they have to do. So it really shouldn't affect us at all.
How good does it feel to have such a big game this late in the season? Not to, disrespect the program. You're bringing it back, Coach. It's getting to a higher level. But, how long ago has it been that you've been this far into the season and have this big of a game for you?
Last year.
Really?
Yeah.
At this point?
Around the
Yeah.
same time, actually.
Okay.
Same team.
That
was a big-
it was the week after. So we last year we played them at homecoming again, but at Bloomsburg.
Yeah.
Because that's where we played some home games last year. And then the following week we hosted Jersey Shore, and it might have been 5-1, not 6-1. So we might have been 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
So right around that same time.
The kids are handling this pretty well, you think?
Yeah, I think they handle it really well. They
Good.
don't get too high, they don't get too low. We've got good leaders. So
What's the difference this year then? You're basically about the same record. What's the difference between this year, 5-1, 6-1 versus last year?
I don't know. I don't know if there's really that much of a difference, to be honest with you. We got a lot of kids return starters, so I think that's helped us a lot. And they had success last year. I think that's probably the biggest difference is the fact that some kids have confidence, which is what I've been saying for the past several years is if we could get confident in believing that we could win some games, I think we would have won some of those games in the past. And last year was the first breakthrough year we've had of that in 10 years. So I think really for them, is my opinion. Xzavier might say something different, but my opinion is that they just believe that they're going to win when they go out on the field, and that plays a big role.
Is that, would you say stay the same?
Yeah,
Do you see something different in the huddle? for you, you've been a different position in the huddle. It can be game to game, whether it's quarterback, receiver, running back, even on the defensive side, switching out. You're your PHAC Allstar is athlete because you've done it all. I mean, are you seeing something different from last year to this year, getting a whole year of success been in these positions, have that experience now, and plus now a little less QB with Bastion now at Milton. I mean, are you seeing anything different on the field? Feel anything?
I'm seeing a lot of younger guys that had to step up because of injuries or spots to fill. So that's about one of the main things. Is there were seniors in that spot last year, but they're younger underclassmen that stepped up and filled it pretty well so far.
So it worked last year. Keep the recipe going this year.
Yep.
Help me with this rumor that Matt Winrick every day in practice reminds you that he's a 2009 state championship at Selinsgrove. Is that true, or is it just a rumor? I might have heard.
It's a rumor, but he should remind us every day. He
Well,
should remind
He
us.
does with the ring, right? He wears that to practice.
He doesn't wear it enough. He should wear it a lot more.
I don't know if you know the connection there, Coach, but Ryan and I covered the 2009 state team, so I got to know Matt really well watching him play. If you haven't Googled Matt Winrick, if you haven't checked it out, beast mode. I mean, he was a linebacker. So much so in the Berwick game that he wasn't going to play. His arm was all banged up. And Berwick was moving the ball on us, and they're like, get in the game. And he was a difference maker in that game. So, and just a good, solid football player. And Bloom loved him. They took him there, made him a fullback, just to tell you what type of kid he is. So changing positions was something that you like Ryan said, you've had to make a difference there. What is that like in preparation for the week, knowing that you're going to be not playing quarterback as opposed to just getting you all over the field and getting you some touches? How's that been different in your preparation?
I've just been switching from going to receiver for some minutes and then going to running back, get some running back drills, going to quarterback, working on footwork. So just switching all around practice.
Who's the main focal point for you in practice and stuff for all those things? I mean, you got coach covering everything, I'm sure. You got specialty coach, quarterback coach. You got people working with you that has helped you through that process?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll ask coach, where do you want me today? He'll be, go with the receivers and then go to running backs after. So I'll go with the receivers for a little bit, and then we'll switch the period up, and I'll go to running backs.
I was told also that you don't mind walking in the woods, but you take your brother with you. That way, if a bear chases you, you know you can outrun your brother, but you just can't outrun the bear.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. I mean, I've done some research, man. I've checked this all out. So you're faster than your brother. There's no question about it.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, really?
On a football field, are you?
Football field.
All right.
What about running from a bear?
From a bear?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the only person you need to be faster than. It's just your brother.
You don't need to be faster than the bear, just a pat faster.
Yeah, that's what these two guys were in the woods, and he took his backpack off. He said, "You think you're going to outrun the bear?" He goes, "No, I just got to make sure I outrun you. That's all that matters." So take your brother with you, or someone that you're faster than, and when you're in the woods, then you're safe because the bear's going to go after the slower person. All right. I mean, that's just my tidbit to you. You know, this will make this whole podcast worthwhile. You take that with you wherever you go. Right. Do you like the woods? You wander around in the woods?
Not anymore.
I don't wander around the woods.
You got to go to a college in the city now. Good job.
You don't hike? You don't do any of that?
No, not really.
Not really.
Good
Not
call.
really.
A little bit of camping sometimes, but
Okay.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
But anyways, speaking of college, you've been doing a ton of camps this summer, a lot of visits. What has that process been like for you? Because, I mean, it's really jumped after your junior season. This is a big summer for you.
I mean, it's stressful at times, but I really try not to get in my head too much about it. I just know that eventually I'll find the right fit if I just let it figure itself out.
So you're not going to announce your commitment here from the booth?
No, I wouldn't.
We tried.
Or even it's basketball or football. Definitely football. That's what you're looking for from college level, or is it still open? Definitely football.
Football, yeah.
Yeah. So like we said, you're preparing for Mifflinburg. Mifflinburg likes to throw the ball all over the place. We just saw them a couple weeks ago. I covered Selinsgrove played Mifflinburg, and boy, they did the little switcheroo. They threw for 77 yards, but ran for 340. What's film look like for you in preparation for that?
Well, usually what I do is I'll take time to mainly go over the pass plays and see what they do, and then after that I'll go and I'll switch it to all the run plays and I'll see where I'll have to fit.
You impressed with what you've seen from them?
Yeah, they're a solid team.
Yeah, they've done some good stuff. I mean, their only loss is Jersey Shore, and and they were actually able to score on them late in the game. But their running back, Andrew Deal, we got to watch him. He just lit Selinsgrove up, and they did a nice job. So, Coach, your thoughts on what you've seen from Mifflinburg?
They're really solid. Everybody looks at their skill kids, and they've got a lot of good skill kids, and obviously Dressler's a heck of a quarterback, probably the best quarterback in the district. But really, they're most solid up front. I mean, they've got some really good players up front that give him the luxury of having time in the pocket because they run some deep routes. They're not really a short passing game team. They like to stretch the field on some routes. I mean, he can throw it for sure. So with that, you have to have time. Mm-hmm. And their line does a great job of giving him time, and they're physical, so they can run the ball when they want to as well. And with that, they have a variety of skill kids that can create a lot of mismatch problems for a lot of teams. So it's going to be a real challenge for us this week to make sure we're sound in what we're supposed to be doing. We feel like we have a good game plan. Game plans are only so good. So I think if we can make them more one-dimensional mm-hmm. and not let them be two-dimensional, I think we have a better chance defensively. But if they're able to run and throw the ball, it's going to be a tough ask for us.
Well, how do you compare them, with Mount Carmel? I would think of all your games this year, that Mount Carmel front was big and athletic, and probably the strongest front you guys saw all year. And you guys did really well with them for 3/4 of the game. But, how would you compare Mifflinburg to that Mount Carmel line?
I don't think they're as big as Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel, boy, I don't know if they had a kid under the line at 270. Yeah. Mifflinburg has some kids that are smaller than that, but they're really well coached. Their O-line coach, Cody Botts, is a kid I coached when I was out there, and he went on to Lycoming to play defensive line for them. So they're not as big as Mount Carmel, but they move well and they're really aggressive. So I think it's just a different style. I think they played. Mount Carmel is predominantly run the ball down your throat, and they're going to run it until you stop it. Where Mifflinburg can do a little bit of both. So I think they have a different style of linemen, but still very effective. Any
coaches still there coaching from when you were there?
Oh yeah.
So you got a little bit of an inside edge on that part?
Not at all. Not one bit.
Yeah.
Tried to a couple weeks ago, but no, I'm just kidding. I did not try to. I
at least tendencies, maybe a little feeling tendencies.
Well, they're a different team than when I was there. I was there. My last year was 2014. It's 2022. We didn't have a kid that could throw the ball like Troy can.
Yeah.
And we were smaller up front, but we ran the ball well when I was there, and we threw the ball effectively at times. But they're a much more dynamic team throwing the ball now than when I left there. So a lot of what we did when I was there, they don't do that anymore. So it's different.
I'm curious too. You got the turf now, and you practice on the turf. You do, and the coaches sometimes when they're coming from grass fields, or they're practice on turf and they're gonna go play on grass. They're like, oh, we got to find a grass field, and all that preparation. But I talked to one experienced coach, and he said, you just practice as you practice. Don't get too, you don't want to start to change things too much and all that. But what's it been like for you to be able to practice on the turf and know that you have the same element, that the same turf, the same terrain every day in practice? How's that been different, from the last couple of years for you when you were on the grass?
Well, we don't get to use the turf every day, but.
Oh, really? Okay. Sorry. We just brought something out.
Sore subject right there, man.
Well, I just saw the head shake from Coach Davis when I said that, but this is a podcast. We don't apologize for no questions.
He just drank some cold water to cool down.
All right. Well, we'll rewind that one and say, but what's the turf been like for you? Obviously it's beautiful. They did a great job with it. If Selinsgrove has to come to Milton, I'll cover that game, which I'll look forward to being in the booth out there with. But how's that been for you? How's the turf been for you? And even injuries and staying away from ankle sprain, all that stuff. How's that been for you?
So it's been a lot better. It's way better on your legs and your joints. It's not as stiff when you're running around on grass. The well, we don't really have grass on our practice field, but
What about taking hits like on the turf as opposed to, because I mean, you're probably going to get to a point where everybody's going to go to the turf like that. You know, what's it like taking a hit and going down on it? How's that all feel to you?
I don't really know, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's not a big noticeable difference for you in terms of taking, you know, when you get hit, knocked around, and as opposed to on grass.
No, not really.
Oh, really? Okay. I mean, I would
Just less dirt.
Yeah. Right. Now, what to happen? Now you just brought it out. You don't get to practice on every day. So when you do, how much difference of a practice is that for you to be on the turf like that?
Different meaning.
Just, you know, I even think like when you look at the lines on a grass field, the lines are all
the
crooked
biggest
and all that stuff and everything like that. So what's that do for you when you have all what you're going to see on a Friday night, all the lines and everything?
I think that helps us tremendously with our spacing. That's been one of the biggest drawbacks on our practice field up until this year. It was not as wide as a regular field.
Oh my gosh.
It's definitely not as long as a regular field, which you don't really need the length because,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really do anything at 100 yards. But the width has made a big difference being on and just having the numbers and the hashes and, you know, that has helped a lot. You know, plus you're in the stadium, you kind of have a good atmosphere. It just feels a lot better, a lot different. We play music, so, you know, all those things help. But the reality of it is we're not the only team that uses that field. So when we have to go to our practice field, we go to our practice. We did it today. We transitioned after about 45 minutes from the game field onto our practice field and practiced for another hour and 15 minutes. So, you know, again, with the team that we have and the leadership that I think we have, nobody really ever complains. They just, all right, this is the next thing we got to go do, and we go do it.
Yeah. I mean, and when it's going to be what it's going to be, like you said, they adjust to it. Now, all of a sudden, they came to you and said, after practicing every day on the turf, and then now say, oh, by the way, it's 5th week of the season, you're going to start to share the field. And I mean, that would be probably a little more adjustment to it, to have to go through that. Ryan talked about Bastion, you know, running quarterback and stuff like that. What's he brought to the team and for you, and what have you seen from him in terms of what how the team's responded to him?
Well, he brought more diversity to our offense. We're able to throw the ball a lot more and a lot further down the field than I was able to. So that definitely helps.
Yeah. Now you have your
He
boat.
also, if I can interject,
Yeah, sure.
he also gives us another weapon. I mean, we now have an extra individual that people have to account for, whether it be running or throwing the ball. So, I mean, if you're going to spend time double teaming Xzavier like Mount Carmel did, and they played underneath and over top coverage the entire game wherever he went, I mean, that takes another person out of the box, which gives us another weapon, which we had some success, you know, through 2.5, 3 quarters with them. But, you know, I think I agree with Xzavier. He has the ability to be able to throw the ball down the field, but more importantly to me, he provides us another weapon that people have to account for.
And he brings a mentality too, right? From what I remember him at Selinsgrove, he's a weight room guy. Like, he's dedicated to the weight room and doing the off season stuff. And, you know, and I'm sure that helps the rest of the team and draw some of the guys in. I'm sure for you, it's good to have another guy that's bought in like you are to lifting weights. And that's a huge part of football.
Yeah. He has a good mentality. He's just, let's go get after it today, every day. He's never coming into practice. He's like, oh, I don't really feel like doing this today. He's always high energy. Let's get going, getting people wild up.
That's contagious. That's definitely contagious.
Very much.
So I got to tell you, I'm super excited about this game. I've been doing a thing on Twitter, District 4 Dudes, and it's just me and some buddies going to a random game and just doing stats live, just loving it, right? And we've done a bunch of Milton and stuff. So District 4 Dudes out there, at District 4 Dudes on Twitter. I think Murphy's got it up in the corner. And we are going to the game this week. And this is like the game where I've been like, all right, this means a ton. You win this game, barring any kind of weird upset the rest of the season, you are almost guaranteed a home playoff game. This could be the difference of Selinsgrove coming to Milton or Milton going to Selinsgrove. Am I correct?
Potentially with 2 weeks left, yes. There's the
Because Shamokin
possibility.
can't catch up, right?
Correct.
I mean, you probably have to lose out in order for that to happen. So big game, not to mention just where your first district playoff game could be played, but also, they're coming at you after last year's game. I mean, that was an amazing, amazing game. So tell me just a little bit, like what the thought process has been for you and what you've been trying to prepare these guys for mentally, or even keeping them away from thinking about playoff seeding, playoff where we're playing, and or how Mifflinburg's going to be coming back for paybacks.
I haven't talked about any of it. Haven't brought it up once.
Just avoid it.
No interest in talking about what's going to take place in 3 or 4 weeks. I think everybody on our team already knows how big of a game this is. It doesn't need to be addressed. It's homecoming. It's military appreciation night for us. We'll be wearing camouflage jerseys, uppers, with our black pants. And both teams are 6-1. I mean, you don't really have to do anything more than just prepare for the week. We have never talked about playoffs. The kids set goals for themselves and the team in the beginning of the year, and that was, what we talked about in the beginning. And every once in a while, just bring up the goals that they wanted, and just to make sure we're staying focused and in line. But we haven't talked at all about last year's game. That's last year's game. I think it probably, that's a tough way to lose or win. I mean, it was a great game, and we didn't have a lot of success until later in that game. We made a couple big plays, and then obviously with the 2-point conversion to win it. But they still had a chance. I mean, they still came down and missed a game-winning field goal.
Yep.
So, they were in it the whole time, and we just fought and battled and kept ourselves in it. And I would accept or expect that to be the case on Friday with both teams. They're battling for playoff seeding as well. I mean, I think right now they might be the 3 seed in 3A.
Wow.
And they're not far from being the 2 seed. So a win for them is just as important as it is for us. So I think there's a lot on the line for both teams. But we have not talked about any of that. I think we just need to not make it bigger than it already is going to be. We just need to realize this is the next game on our schedule and get ready to play against Mifflinburg and not concern ourselves with all those other things.
Well, yeah, you had just touched and said, it was a big game last year the way it played out, and you guys really came on late in that game. I believe it was like a 94-yard pass play to Peyton. You just hit him in the flat, and he turned on the afterburners. And then your defense in the second half was just outstanding. Like they were done. It seemed like offensively. And then was it like a 32 or 38-yard pass you had to Peyton on a post route right in the final drive there for you guys? I mean, Peyton, I think, had 130 yards in that game. Definitely, I would think his career game yardage-wise. But, man, and I said to Coach after the game, Pat, I went up to him and shook his hand and whispered in his ears, and I'm like, you've got the biggest balls in all of Central PA. This 2-point conversion call, and we're going to watch it here in a second, but I've got to know on the sideline, you guys know if we score, are you already saying it, we're going for 2?
Wasn't even in doubt. I didn't say it to anybody. I knew in my mind if we scored, we were going for 2 to win the game. And we had put in a play probably 2 weeks prior to that. We hadn't run it yet, and it was a 2-point play for us. And we had prepared and thought we could execute it, and we did. I mean, the guy sitting next to me made an unbelievable catch. I mean, if you watch it on film, you'll see that he probably loses the ball at some point in the air because of the coverage that's on him, and it kind of goes through that kid and right into his hands. And from where I was standing on the sidelines, they are in the far left corner. I had no idea if he caught it or not, other than everybody just erupted. Until they put their hands up, I didn't even know if it was a catch or not. But
I was holding the chains. I had a great view. And when I saw the ball in the air, not a tight spiral. No, not a tight spiral. But X, you were in the huddle. The play comes in. what is the huddle like? What is everyone like? Like, this is like Philly, like in the Super Bowl. Like, this is like a huge moment. You know the play. Like, what is it? Like, everyone's like, oh, dang. You know what I mean? Or was it just like, all right, let's go do it?
I mean, at first they're all fired up. They're mind blown that we scored or something. I don't know. They were going crazy. First thing I had to do was tell them to calm down so I could actually give them the play. And then after that, I mean, they're just ready to go score.
All right. Well, Murphy, let's start this play, the 2-point conversion, and I want you to pause it while the ball is in the air. Our producer, Murphy O'Brien, by the way. What are you thinking, X? What do you think? Look at this right here. Look at
exactly what you said.
Hand
Coach.
in your face. If no one knows the outcome of this play, Pat,
I don't even know what I.
How much money are you betting that this is not completed?
I'm not betting any money because I know I'm going to lose it because I think the 4 is going to hit it. It's going to roll, hit the pylon, play over. That's what I'm looking at right now. Like you said, Coach, you're looking at it going, I can't tell what's going to about happen at this last minute there. An athletic play being made there. I mean, can you even? Most athletes would say, I don't. At this point, I have no idea what's going on because I can't even process it. I'm just going to make a play. And next thing, the ball's in my hand. I roll. Whatever you do at the end there, is that true as an athlete? Like at this point, you can't process what's happening at this moment. Even now, when you watch it, can you?
No, not really.
No memory.
They asked me, and all I remember is I was like, okay, I have to catch this ball. Like I was saying that before we even snapped the ball. I was like, I just have to catch this so we win the game, and that's all I was thinking.
And one thing I'm thinking, if it was a tight spiral, this thing might have gone out of the end zone. I mean, the way it was thrown, how hard he threw it, it actually probably benefited that it was a duck and it's flapping around. One receiver used to tell me that sometimes a tight spiral is harder to catch than a ball's got a little bit of wiggle to it because it looks bigger as it's coming to you. But I mean, so this ball, the fact that it's like almost looks like a volleyball coming down to you might have been beneficial in that catch here. But again, like Ryan's saying, number 4 looks like he's about to volleyball this thing and hit the pylon. That's what it looks like. Unbelievable play there. And everybody is watching this play.
Everyone's looking.
Look at that. The refs, everyone in that stadium. Can you imagine that? That everybody, except for Coach Davis, everyone else can see this play unfold. Coach Davis's angle is not allowed because he's probably right behind the referee right there.
All right, I can't have the suspense anymore. I got to know if he catches it, Murph.
And wow, and through the catch too. To be able to finish that catch. That's unbelievable, man.
That was, I was, if I would have had a microphone, I would have just dropped it and walked out of the stadium right there. We're going crazy. It was so awesome. Big game. And really, you guys struggled offensively for 3 quarters.
We did.
Yeah.
Very, very, very badly.
We did.
You struggled. But man, that was a great 4th quarter. Just put it together.
That game wasn't over after that play.
And that's,
They still had a minute 36 with a tremendous quarterback that had thrown the ball really well in the first half. We did a better job in the second half. But, they complete a play or two, and they're down inside the 20, 25-yard line and have an opportunity to kick the game-winning field goal.
And you've said it many times, even when Ryan asked you about playoffs and how you're preparing the kids, and you came out. We're not even talking about it. And just now, like you, right when it happened, you can see the composure that, we just got work to do. This isn't over. Is that different in your coaching experience and just becoming a little more experienced in this? Was there a time you would have been run up and down the sideline celebrating with the kids?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt. I don't know if it's experience or just old age at this point where I just don't have a lot of energy by Friday night at 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm pretty tired by then. Every week is a long week. I don't really consciously think about it. I didn't wake up one day and be like, calm yourself down, settle down. I just think over time, this is my 18th year of coaching football, so not that that's a ton compared to a lot of people around here, but over time, I probably mellowed a little bit and relaxed just a little bit. Maybe not in practice as much as in game. There's enough going on in a game where me acting like a crazy man on the sidelines isn't really going to help. I mean, there's times when I'll yell or get excited, but I like to try to be as composed as I can so that our kids can hopefully feed off of that and feel that and see that and be like, hey, we're okay. Everything will be all right. it's a football game.
Yeah.
It's not life or death.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous experience for them and teaches them a lot about life and adversity and, all those different things. And I've been fortunate enough to experience some of those things, and hopefully some of my experience has helped kind of mold this team a little bit.
And go ahead.
More nerve-wracking, coaching girls basketball or football?
That's a great question. I like football better simply because I'm outside. You can hear everything in a basketball gym.
Yeah.
I mean, especially for girls. Until we made the playoffs, there'd be like 20 people there. So, every time I even said anything, it sounded like I'm screaming from the hills.
Yeah.
And but I like coaching both. I'm not saying I like coaching one better than the other. I like being outside because when I use my outside voice, it's not as dramatic as when I use my outside voice in a gym.
Well, staying on that same, in terms of refereeing or talking to refs and trying to just what's easier to manage in your mind, dealing with the ref going up and down the sidelines in front of you and chit-chatting with that ref as opposed to on a basketball court?
Well, in football, it's different in that I'm going to have the same two people on my sideline the entire game, so I can engage and talk more. Where in basketball, they're rotating, and I won't always have the same person. So, I think it's probably a little bit easier in football just because it's the same people.
Yeah, good point.
But again, when I first started coaching basketball, I probably didn't handle myself always the best way all the time, wanting every call, and I've kind of gotten over that point. I still want every call, but
sure,
realize I'm not going to get it. So what am I going to get from yelling or screaming or, things like that?
Anxiety.
Yeah.
Well, my dad used to say, the more you yell, the less you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
God, I know
that's
nothing.
what he used to told me. That's
I know nothing.
he'd tell me that. You play for both these guys. Do you see a lot of similarities about how they go about handling game situation, practices, preparation? Do you see a lot of similarities, or is there a quite adjustment going from football to the basketball court?
No, there's a lot of similarities. The first one that comes to my mind is that they both always say you practice how you play. Like, someone would be goofing around or taking it easy at practice, and they'll be like, yo, like, step it up. Like, you're practicing for a game. You can't just be walking around, taking your time.
So that's got to make it a little bit easier that you're not going from one style coach that's a little too relaxed and kids getting away with everything and struggling that way. And then all of a sudden you walk on a basketball court and it's like military. It's like, boom, so that's got to be, seems like it'd be easier for you, the adjustment. You're going from football field to basketball court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, your dad is a coach on the football team.
Yeah.
Coach Davis, you've coached your son. I'm currently coaching my son for one more year. Then he's gone. Talk about that dynamic. How is that at practice? Does dad take off the dad hat and put the coaching hat on? Or does dad bring it home?
He usually takes it off for practice and he'll bring it home. Like, my first 2 years, and like even last year, like sometimes he'd get on me and he'd get a little ugly sometimes. DB practice.
Just a little ugly. Coach, how was it for you when you had Mouse? Mouse is, by the way, his son's nickname that everyone calls him.
Well, you're going to ask me my opinion or what I think he would say?
Both.
He would say probably the worst 4 years of his life. I was a horrible coach of my son. Horrible. My expectations of him and what I demanded of him was so greater than anyone I've ever coached that it was just unfair to him. And I coached my daughter in softball when she was younger and then in through high school, and I kind of learned a lot from that. And the lessons I learned, I didn't always take to heart and translate it to my son. There was an overlap of like a 2-year period. But, we were in the midst of trying to change everything in the school and the program, not the school, but the program. And, we had some good players and our schedule was brutal. And, like I said, my expectation, going back to Xzavier playing quarterback's the hardest position in any sport to play. There is so much asked of a player that plays that position. And, my son was asked to do all of those things and more. And, if something failed as a dad, And as the head coach, it was his fault, not whoever else's fault. And that's not fair to him, and it wasn't fair to him. And there were some times at home where I had to be readjusted a little bit. Looking back on it, I wish I would have done a lot of things different. But from a dad's perspective, it was the best time I ever had. Was getting to spend that time with my son that I'll never have again. And I think hopefully he'll be like my daughter. When he gets a little bit older, he's going to look back and like, man, I see why you did what you did now. I see why you said what you said.
It's well said. I agree completely. I actually had AD pull me aside after the sophomore year, and he's like, dude, you got to back off your kid.
Yeah.
You got to. He's got to be able to breathe like everybody else. And, I took the advice, and it was a lot easier. And you know what? Because I backed off in games, it was like I didn't bring it home. Like, because I wasn't as hype on it. Now, you still have the moments, but I agree too, man. It's not easy. It's not, but I love it. I love coaching him because I get to be there.
Yeah.
But I would say the same thing. He'd say it's horrible. Horrible. But by the way, another kid that's like a son to you, Brandon Feltman, wanted me to ask you or have you tell the story of the time you were being the simulating quarterback in a drill, and somebody tackled you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been tackled a few times over the years. Probably warranted and probably a good way to have some frustration let out on me. But I'm assuming he's talking about the time where I had a player by the name of Caleb Cawley, and we were running some sort of, I don't know what we were doing, inside run or whatever. He came, grabbed me from the back and just pulled me down. And I was like, well, guarantee I just blew my knee out, and I'm pretty sure my Achilles just popped. So, wow. And on top of that, I think my hamstring just shredded. And I just kind of was there for a second like, I'm really not sure I'm going to be able to get up. And I got up, and I'm like, wow, I think everything's working here right now.
Adjustment.
I freaking tore into him, and it was fun. I mean, it wasn't fun at the time getting tackled. It sucked, but he was a great kid.
So you didn't yell?
I tore into him. The second I got up and all my extremities were still there and usable, I ripped into him a lot. Yeah. But he was like, hey, you had the ball.
That's hilarious.
Good point.
So we changed gears a little bit. We just called a 12-pack of questions. Just going to throw questions out to you. Nothing in depth. Just want your answer on it. Hot dog, hamburger?
Hamburger.
Hamburger. Okay. The must-get fair food. When you go to a fair, street fair, Bloomsburg fair, what is the food you need to make sure you get before you leave that place?
Funnel cake.
I don't go to fairs.
Okay.
But if I did, it would be French fries.
Okay. Hoagie or sub? What do you call it when you go to order it? Sub.
I'm from Western PA, so I call them both. We called them subs back there, or hoagies. I forget which way it is now, but I call them both.
If you were being chased, dog, cat, and you had two options, either to gallop or hop, which one are you going to use?
Think about this.
Probably hop.
Well, if it's a cat chasing me, I could care less. So it doesn't matter what I do.
Well, I had to say it was a dog, a bear, or something that's going to be able to rip you to shreds. Speaking of ripping something to shreds, it's going to get you, and it's going to. So you got to get away. So
I'll
you
probably gallop.
Gallop. Skydiving or deep sea diving?
Skydive.
Neither, but I'll go deep sea.
Deep sea diving. Have you done either one?
No.
Either one?
No, nor would
I. Dunkin' or Starbucks?
Neither.
Neither.
I would not drink either of those ever. I'll make my own coffee.
I'll take a Dunkin' Donut. So.
Okay. Burger King, Wendy's, or McDonald's?
Oof.
Wendy's.
I'll go McDonald's.
These are important questions. This honestly says a lot about a person. So,
how long can you hold your breath? If I said go right now, how long will you hold your breath?
2 minutes. I don't know.
I think you could. I think you could because I've done it.
Ryan said he trained. He trained to learn how to hold his breath.
You get bored in the work truck, and sometimes you're just like, I wonder how long I can hold my breath. I trained for it. I did over 2 minutes.
And he only passed out twice and wrecked twice because he wanted to go over 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
I wasn't driving.
He trained. He
I
told
did.
me he trained for how long you get hold of
I got over 2 minutes. I'm like David Blaine.
He said he watches movies, and when guys do deep sea diving in a movie, he holds his breath as long as the scene is.
Not
to see if
realistic.
It's realistic.
It's not realistic.
Those people are not holding their breath that long.
Because you're swimming too. So you're using energy. You're burning oxygen. It's no way. And I told him I almost died during Finding Nemo.
1 minute for me.
Well, I mean, do you ever make the bed when you're leaving the hotel on checkout? Do you make the bed?
Yes.
Kind of. Not completely, but like,
That's serial killer stuff. Right there.
Making the bed.
Making the hotel bed.
Name a Michael Jackson song.
Thriller.
Beat it.
You had the Thriller in there.
Yeah.
There you go. Dumber team NFL name: Commanders or Browns?
Commanders.
Commanders.
What do you say more often in your daily life? Please or thank you?
Thank you.
There is a science to this. We've actually broke this down.
Yeah, leave it to us to break it down from the booth.
I think I say thank you more than please as well.
Because you probably don't always have to ask for something to receive something. Then you get it and you say thank you. So I think that's actually a definitive answer for that. There's no way people say please unless people hate them and they never get a chance to say thank you because they don't give them what they're asking for.
Our analogy was
that could be me.
our analogy is you're going through the drive-through. You don't ask, please, can I have a burger? But 90% of the time when they hand it to you outside the window, you go, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be so.
That just gives us a little bit of insight of where you guys are mentally. We'll let you know when the results come in.
I don't know if I want to know.
So making your bed thing that was not a good answer for you.
That's a great answer. Here's the reason why, and I wouldn't have never done that because I've already paid however much money to stay in that hotel. My wife, over the years, is big into service and, taking care of other people and helping people, and she always leaves a tip for the maids that come in. And so it is so ingrained in me to always make my bed every day. First thing I do when I get up is make the bed. That, when I see her, we're getting stuff around and ready to go, I just grab the covers and pull them up. Like, I'm not tucking it in and making it like the next guy could sleep in it, but I'm definitely making it just to help them out.
Side question, and not part of the 12. When you're done your dinner eating out, do you put all the plates together and the silverware and slide it all together for the waitress to be able to waiter to come by and just pick it up, or do you leave it?
I put it together.
Because actually, I've been told, and Ryan Wargett, I've been told by multiple waiters and waitresses they wish they just leave it alone, because it's a system that they have so that when you do it and they walk into the kitchen area, then they got to unfold whatever you just did.
Not when you have all the silverware on the top plate and you got everything stacked on top.
Thank you. All the food and trash on one plate.
Exactly.
Then you have the empty plates stacked underneath, all the silverware together. And I don't stack the cups because I don't know how they want to do the cups, but I don't believe that. I mean, yeah, if you're an idiot and you're just like stacking plates with food on them and they're like wobbling, yeah, then I get it. But I refuse to believe it. I do the same thing. I even like wipe all the crumbs off. It's like,
I don't go that far.
I'm ridiculous.
What's a standard thing you say to a coach when you meet him at midfield after a game?
Good game. Good luck the rest of the year.
That's just a standard, and that comes back at you too, as long as there's not a reason to get fired up at you.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, they'll say good game. Hey, good luck.
And I know you know a lot of the other guys from other teams. Do you make it a point to go around and see people, or is it you guys just kind of asked to shake hands and then head out?
Usually I'll shake their hands, and then like after we're done talking as a team, I'll go over and I'll see them, say what's up.
And it's just kind of a what's up, how things going. Yeah. Like I hear in the NFL a lot of times, and obviously you don't have this opportunity to say how's the family, how are the kids? It's good to see the kids, that kind of stuff. But you find yourself just kind of a standard, hey, good seeing you, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Probably run into guys like from the AAU team, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You pick guys like that up. I know that's like the big thing. Or you play any kind of other travel ball with them.
Yeah.
I want to think back to the Mount Carmel game, and of course a loss, but what do you take away? Because I know that, Ryan, even in covering games, you could watch a game that you come up short on, but you played well in a certain time. What did you take away from that, even from a confidence? Because Mount Carmel's good, and you know that. What did you take away from that game that maybe put you over the top? Like, man, we're not that bad. We're good. I mean, we can compete. That maybe even if you had a chance to play them again, which you won't obviously this season, but if you had, what did you take away from that? And even though in a losing effort.
Well, the first thing I saw was how well our offensive line handled their defensive line. I mean, their defensive line they were big. They were dudes, and our line did a fairly good job maintaining them. And then also defensively, how solid we were.
Mount Carmel has reputation. I want you to nix this reputation. Trash talking during the game, any extracurricular stuff? I mean, where they just played you straight up? I mean, I want to make sure that we're turning the corner on a lot of this, because some of these schools still have these reputations that they're cheap, they do all this, and you hear it in the fans, what's the insight on during a game? What's any of that going on?
Not necessarily dirty. I mean, there's a little trash talk, but that's
Sure.
usually about every game you play.
Yeah, that's competing.
Yeah,
right?
Nothing too dirty.
That's good. I want to hear that. That's exactly what I hear. Seriously, because I'm not down on the field, and it's good to know that we're kind of getting past some of that. And trash talking is one thing. That's competing, as long as it's within the lines of rules and all that. But I just wanted to make sure not the extracurricular stuff, because Cole Region gets the shaft on that. They get, you think. Are you seeing the same thing in terms of sportsmanship? Because a lot of these kids know each other a lot more now than they ever did with social media. Are you seeing more sportsmanship and a little less of that extracurricular stuff going on?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I didn't really see any of that in the Mount Carmel game. To be honest with you, I thought they were really classy. They're just super well coached, and I think their agenda is completely different than wasting their time trying to, talk crap and try to embarrass people. I think they have a higher agenda on what they want to accomplish this year, and they seem to be, from where I stood, I can't hear everything.
Sure.
And there's a lot I can't hear on the field, but I thought they were pretty classy, and they just played really hard. And generally speaking, that's how it's been for teams. I mean, everybody wants to, try to impose their will, and sometimes there's a mental side to that with how you talk, but.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I think the sportsmanship's been really good.
When you're a good team, too, you don't have to talk as much.
Right.
You really don't.
They don't need to talk.
No.
They really don't.
No, they're good. I will say this. Back in the 90s when I played, you go into any Cole region, there were extra things in the pile. Like through the face mask, grabbing, a lot of stepping on hands if you got a chance. But I don't remember talking so much. But it was definitely a more physical, get in your head type of game. And that went for basketball too. There was a lot of stepping on toes in basketball. When you played a Cole Region team, it didn't matter who. It was a much more physical, and it's not so cheap. They weren't doing so much things that were going to really hurt you, but really just to get in your head and kind of intimidate you. But that was notorious. We would be ready for that stuff.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily. I get what you're saying with the region, but I think a lot of that is just what you said there as far as intimidation. I mean, you go in and play down in the Silver Bowl, that's quite an atmosphere that they bring that fire truck and the parade through town, and it's like the whole world's stopping, and they take their sports really serious.
Yeah.
So I think it's ingrained in them that you're going to compete on every play and play your best, and if whatever they have to do to be successful, and I think they do it within the realm of the rules. I don't think they do anything outside the rules at all, but I think there's an intimidation factor playing in a lot of places down there. It means a lot.
Well, just looking at their banners or the stuff they have as state titles, it's just crazy. And now you got Southern like that as well, which, by the way, those two play this week. They're at Southern. But yeah, if you know your football history, when you walk into Mount Carmel, you're in the Silver Bowl's a special place. A lot of history.
On my broadcast, we have to pick a game as a Blaze Alexander built for tough game of the week. And to think that it's Mifflinburg Milton as our game over Mount Carmel Southern says something about what you guys are about to dive into, man. That's good stuff. I mean, that's what you're hoping for. No doubt about it. Going through your high school career, playing meaningful games Friday night under the lights, good stuff, and so that is my game. We'll be keeping an eye on the District 4 dudes. Will be there. with every stat. You interviewed with them. Do you remember that?
Yeah, boy.
What was that all about, man? How did he get a hold of you? I mean, you had to be tugged every which way at that night, and somehow this dude gets a hold of you for an interview. You enjoy that?
I mean, it was all right.
He's like, District 4 dudes? What are you talking about, Coach? Like, what?
Didn't he show you his press pass and everything? I'm sure you knew who he was.
I didn't have to use it at Milton. I used it at Southern for the Loyalsock game to get on the field. But it's not even a real press pass. It's an old one for a radio station that I used to go on the field for interviews. Hey, how many wins did you have your freshman year in football?
0.
2 wins in basketball.
Yeah, shoot basketball.
Junior year, your 14 wins, I think we were in basketball. How many did you end up in football? 9?
7.
7?
7 and 5.
Okay. And you're going to surpass that this year.
Yeah.
Man, talk about from going from 0 and 2. And 2 in basketball is the same as 0 in football, right?
Pretty much.
How does it feel to go through that and to know like now you're playing big boy ball, football, and hopefully that translates. I love the fact, I said it last year, start of our basketball season, nothing is better than when your football team is successful and they come into the next season. It is a different mentality. Like it is a completely different team. They're confident. They've worked hard. They've seen it. They've played the tough games. They got the postseason. Like as a basketball coach, you're pumped. Yeah, you're like, oh God, more games. Your players could get injured. But at the same time, it's the most beneficial thing carrying over because the culture is a huge thing. And I think that's what you've seen probably in the last, because, since your son graduated, you had a couple down years there. But man, I think your culture right now is phenomenal from what I'm seeing, from the social media coverage to the local coverage, to the stuff I'm seeing in the weight room, to the new stadium. You guys have endured, and now you're taking it in.
Yeah, I think we went through a rough patch there, and it's been a rough patch, but let's just be honest. I mean, it's nothing I'm doing. I got good players. I mean, we got good kids in our program right now, and they play multiple sports, and they're good in all those sports, and we're reaping the benefits of that. Now we're hopefully developing more, and we're playing some freshmen this year. We had a tremendous freshman play for us last year, but they're just good players and they're good kids. I mean, I've had, and we've talked about this as a staff a couple different times, especially this year, and last year I would say would be the start of it. I can't tell you how many discipline issues I had to deal with over the last 6 years. I haven't had a discipline issue at all this year, not one. I mean, I've had a couple of teachers call me and say, "Hey, can you talk to this kid? He's acting like a goofball in class." Yep, no problem. Mm-hmm. In the past, we've had some issues where, we're going to suspend kids, we're going to throw them off the team. Are they doing this? Are they doing that? I just haven't had it, and I think that speaks volumes for the culture that these guys have created. Through some success and what expectations are, and then learning how to deal with them, and then, having positive results from it.
I can relate with that because my first 3 years, I had a kid I had to remove off each team. Every year, first 3 years. And last year, my first year, I didn't have any issues. Yeah. And even grade-wise, too, it just seems like, and honestly, Milton doesn't, I mean, it's not like it's bad. Like, I've had some unbelievably good kids for the most part, but I've just had that one kid different than the rest for 3 years. But my 4th year last year, and I can't foresee anybody this year. It's like a different culture overall. You're seeing that change, and I hope these younger kids are paying attention to that, because this is how you continue. This is how you continue to be successful, even when you might not have as good as skilled players or athletes. If that mindset and the work ethic and the attack mode is there, you're still going to be decent. Not every year can be a district title type of year, but every year can still be successful. And I think when you can stay there, you're going to be more of a district title team, maybe even with lesser talent. I just think that's how it is. You see it in these programs year in and year out. It's the mindset. It's the culture.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree.
Do you always defer if you win the toss?
Oh, no.
I did it again.
I'll let him answer this one because he's my speaking captain and he has been for 2 years now. And again, my philosophy has always been I want to give them ownership. This is their team. I'm just a guy that's getting them there and making sure that everything's in alignment, but it's their team, their decisions, what they want to do, I give them reign to do as far as the coin toss and things of that nature. So I'll let Xzavier expand on that.
All right, goes up. What do you call it when I flip it? Ready? Go.
Heads.
Heads.
Yeah, taking the ball.
Taking the ball. Okay.
Every time.
Every single time.
And how beneficial has that been for you?
Well, when we score in the first drive, it's great.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. How often does that happen? Are you? Well, and the reason I ask, and I don't. Steve Briggs and I do the games now, and he would always defer. And his thought was, my defense is going to get a stop at the 22-yard line. They're going to punt. We're going to get the ball at the 40 and get it into the opposing team's side of the field. And then I get the entire game to watch what's been unfolding and knowing I'm going to get the ball first to start second half with all this information. Now, this is back in the day before you had all the extra technology, right? So, but that's the way he went about it. Now, Mifflinburg last week, 2 weeks ago, took the ball. And that was the first time. And he was blown away. He's like, wow. I mean, and it shows that element of confidence. Hey, we want the ball because we're not going to go. We're not going to go 4 and out. We're going to go right down the field and score. So again, you take the ball and that's just giving it to them to say, what do you want to do with it?
I let them decide what they want. If they want the ball, we take the ball. If they want to defer, then we'll defer. I mean, it's up to them. I mean, they're the ones on the field. And I trust them completely, and I trust their confidence. I mean, would there be ever a time where I would say, hey, no, we're going to do this? Maybe, but it's not going to be this year. I mean, I really trust them what they decide and what they want, and they want the ball every time. So,
well, how's that change in overtime, though?
It's not going to be overtime.
Well, no, but I mean, when you have overtime, then you have a coin toss, you win it, and then obviously you want to take the ball second because you want to see what they do with the ball, and then you're going to just –
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, my thought process is let's see where the game is at this point.
Okay.
If we have the momentum,
sure,
I want to keep that.
Okay.
If we don't and we're the team that took the punches, then we'll probably defer and play some defense to see what we have to do first. But, if they say to me, hey, irregardless, we want the ball, then we'll take the ball.
Yeah. Okay, opening kickoff, you got the ball. It's returned to the 25-yard line, first down and 10, starting the game against Mifflinburg. What's the call? What do you go with?
Zero chance, I'm telling you that.
This podcast will not be shown until after your game Friday night.
I can't promise that.
Sorry.
Zero chance.
Zero.
All right,
we
Nick
can
Saban.
Talk,
Nick Saban's entered the room.
We'll talk about it off air. Do you script plays? I know some coaches will script like their first 6. Some even I've had in the past do 12.
I script the first 10, and by 10, there's 24.
Yeah.
So I tell Wenrick, who prints out my stuff, I said, hey, here's my first 10. And he's like, it's not 10. There's 24 plays here.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's what I want.
All right, so I throw it to you. What play do you want? Now, this isn't going to be the play. Don't give it. I'm asking, what do you want the play to be called? And let's just say it's later in the game. It's 3rd down and 7, 3rd down 6, passing play. What? Give me the call you would make. You would hear in the huddle.
I know the
answer. What's the call going to be?
I know the answer to this.
The exact name of the
It
play.
doesn't matter, run or throw. He just wants the ball.
I mean, yeah, to be honest.
But what's the call? I just heard Mahomes give his T left, double T, the Tampa Bay right shift. What's it? Give me a standard call.
What's your favorite call?
That's coming to you. What do you want to hear when the call comes in?
My favorite call? My favorite call would probably be, I'd say, X spot. I mean, all those linemen, all those big guys are out of the way. It's just me and kids that are my size.
So what is that play? Just a quick hitter to you, and then you try to make a play?
Just like a little pitch.
Left, right, doesn't matter. Just give me the ball.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was impressed. You said about the offensive line at Mount Carmel game that that's what you were most impressed by. That's maturity in your sense too. I mean, whether that's coach talk and they told you they played really well, or and I'm not discounting what you said, but that's a sign of maturity. You saw them grow in that game, even in the losing calls. That's great stuff, man. Because that's what every high school team is hoping to be able to say coming out of, especially a game where you end up on the losing end. But I've covered games for 24 years now, and there's not a coach that I haven't talked to who said, if it starts and ends with the offensive and defensive line, if we can win that, we're going to win a lot of games. So that's great, man. That's good to hear. And that's going to be a big part of, as Coach talked about, that the Mifflinburg from a defensive line, offensive line standpoint, he likes what he's seen up there. So it's going to be another test for you guys up front too.
Yeah.
Yep. How many guys go both ways on the offense, defensive line?
On the line?
Mm-hmm.
We have, it depends on who we start on the defensive line, but we might have one on the defensive line. And if you count your tight end, then we have two.
Wow.
One that plays offense, defense, and one that plays offense, defense. So
Is that a conscious effort from a coaching standpoint to try to cut down on two-way players?
100%.
And what's your numbers grown with the success you've had? What back when you're 0-10? What do you remember numbers?
Yeah, I do. I had more numbers.
More
Really?
numbers when you were back?
I had 50-some players. This is the first year I've ever not had 50 kids.
Wow.
And we're not even close to 50. We have like 40. And then
This-
with injuries, we're dressing maybe 38.
Does Bastion ever play defense? Is there a possibility he could play defense?
Played
for you?
it last week.
Did he play it last week?
Yep, some.
What
So-
position?
Yeah, what
Outside linebacker.
Outside linebacker.
I'll tell you, and you're probably on the same wavelength as me right now. There was a quarterback at Selinsgrove that was a safety and a quarterback, but he didn't really play much safety until an injury happened sophomore year, junior year at Mount Carmel, and he had to step in. And as soon as he got in on defense and he got an interception, like he became a different quarterback. Like just I don't something on the D, and we noticed it in every game then. Like when he was playing defense, he played better on offense. Like it brought a confidence to him. I think giving some hits on defense, getting out there, and he had a bunch of interceptions.
Well, a big part of it, too, was he didn't dwell on the sidelines if he had a mishap.
Yeah.
It was his chance to get back on and make up for it. You got to stand on the sidelines after you just threw an interception and watch these boys who just came off after making a big stop, and now you got to sit on the sidelines and listen to Coach talk to your ear about, come on. It was a game at Mannheim Central, too. After they won the state championship, they played down there. Justin Kaiser was a quarterback, and he was struggling. But they put him in as a defensive back, and he took a big hit and tackled a guy, and he almost led them back to a win. So I think there's something to be said about that as well, is that you don't have to spend time on the sideline. Do you come off the field at all?
No.
When I cramp.
Yeah, when he can't go anymore, he comes off the field.
What are you on the extra point team?
Well, I guess that's true.
Ah,
But you are punting. You have punted.
I punt.
Is Ashton punting again, or is he?
Yes,
Okay.
He's cleared the punting.
All right.
and where do you play on the kick coverage team?
I'm in the very back.
Very back,
Returner.
kind of a say. Oh, you're on
saying
kickoff return.
Okay, you want?
What about coverage?
Well, I'm not on that anymore, so. I guess
Okay.
there's two things.
Those are your breathers.
Yeah, those are the cramp-saving moments.
And if you play good enough on defense, you don't have to worry about returning any kicks, so you can have some time off there.
How's special teams been for you?
Really good.
Really good.
Yep. I mean, we had an extra point blocked 2 weeks ago, I think, on just some bad steps.
And you were up a
inside.
ton.
We were up,
whenever,
yeah,
so.
I think that was to go up 35 and get the clock running. So
Yeah.
that was a big one for us, which we came back and he scored on a fumble to
52-yarder.
put the game into the clock mode.
Mm-hmm.
But we've scored twice on punt returns. We have a freshman punt returner. We've blocked a couple punts. We've not given up any points on special teams yet.
Nice.
Our kickoff coverage at time has been sloppy. We've really tried to work on that, but overall, our special teams has performed pretty well.
Big key, two things.
So, and I think we close out on this here, because we can keep you all night, by the way. This is what we like to do, but I think we're approaching an hour. So, and we said, you go, how long is this going to take? I said, I don't know, an hour, 45 minutes. It easily can go way longer than an hour. But your defense has been scoring points. Have you ever had that in the past where, you're getting points almost every game out of your defense? Have you had that? What's your experiences with it? And just what does that do to the mindset of the whole team when you're getting points for your defense? That's pretty big.
Well, like I said, I think we were getting points from everybody this year. Our special teams, we have not always had points in an entire season, and we already have this year. But defensively, I don't think you can speak enough about how well our defense has played this year. I mean, they have just swarmed to the ball. They've created a lot of turnovers, and like you said, we've scored a couple times, at least a couple times, maybe 3 or 4 times defensively, and it's made the difference in a lot of games. I mean, it was the difference maker in the South Williamsport game to open the season. They created 4 turnovers. That game was different because of our defense. Last week Peyton has a
pick 6
interception. He returns for a touchdown. Xzavier scored to put the game in a running clock on defense. So, we've had a lot of success defensively, creating turnovers, and that's one of the things we talk about and preach. And, when we're on defense, that ball is ours as much as it is theirs. So we're excited about that.
One thing I'm noticing about this year defensively, that even from last year and definitely the couple years before, you guys are playing more downhill. You guys are flying to the ball. You're hitting harder. And, I've watched a lot of successful football covering on the radio, especially postseason. And that's the one thing that sticks out with good teams. Can you beat up on your opponent? Can you wear them down? And, I want to ask, this is some guys that stick out to me. Nolan Lose. I just think that guy would run through a block wall, probably for fun. Am I correct?
Yeah, but you're 100%.
I mean, he's not all there, right? That's the guy you need out there that's just willing to blow.
And he says that compassionately.
No, you need that guy. You need the guy that's not there and has no concern for his well-being. Is that Nolan Lose?
Yep, absolutely. He loves playing, gives everything he's got. Sometimes you got to reel him in a little bit, but I'd rather reel him in than have to try to reel him out, because if I have to reel him out, I'm not going to get anything from him. So, yep, for sure, he is that way.
I think another guy, too, that I just feel is playing with way more energy defensively is Ashton Crawl. I think he's having a great year just being on the field, and maybe not always the tackle, but in the way, turning things in. Also, the kid, and I might be pronouncing this wrong, Verdinelli.
Yeah,
Verdinelli.
Dude,
that kid's a motor.
Yep.
He is working. And I just, it sticks out to me. I see the way he flies around. Now, obviously, I've seen X do it over and over again. And, even Goodwin was playing really, really well. Linebacker position. Who was it? Rife. We've known about him and stuff, and Peyton, everyone knows, how he flies around. But some of those guys like Lose, Crawl, Bernelli, and Goodwin, man, they have just been completely different players this year. I think that's probably a big part. Is there anyone else I'm missing defensively you've seen just step it up and change the way?
Well, I think if you're asking me, defensively we're led by Peyton. When Peyton is on the field, he gets all the calls right, all the checks right, and he just plays downhill so well. So when he's healthy, I think we're a totally different defense. But one thing that's helped us, too, is we have 2 middle linebackers this year that are starting for the first time ever. And one's a sophomore, one's a junior. And, they played really well as first-time starters ever, being in that system.
Connor Snyder and
Dom Lytle.
Okay,
they played exceptional. And then, our defense really was built off our secondary based on what we had coming back and the personnel that we have and the athleticism that we had there. So we changed our defense this year. We were a 3-5 forever, and we're a 3-4 this year because of our back end. We have corners that can cover. We have safeties that can come in the box and cover. And then, our outside linebackers with Luke Goodwin and Gary Verdinelli have played exceptional as well.
Yeah. And again, I said we were going to end. One last thing, and then I'll let Pat close us out. And this is for both of you. Doyle goes down in the scrimmage. How do you? This kid has an unbelievable freshman year, and I remember him in the Mifflinburg game on defense. If I remember right, that was the first game he played maybe about every defensive rep. Is that right? Because he came on more defensively, got more minutes as the season went on, if I remember correct.
That is correct. He didn't play every.
But played a big part.
He played every down in the second half.
Yeah.
Defensive.
So that was the game. But, so here you are, man. You return in the bulk. It's a big season coming up. And Doyle goes down. in the scrimmage and he's out for the year. Where were you because this is a leader moment. Now you got to get the team together because that's affecting psyche right away to have like a stud going down before he ever even plays the first game of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it sucked. The first thing I did was I went and I talked to him. I was like, I mean, it sucks, but you're gonna come back better than you were. You're gonna have a great junior year. And then after that, I went to the second and third string running backs and linebackers, like anywhere you play. And I was like, you guys are gonna have to fill a big spot.
Next man up.
You guys can do it. So,
Coach.
I just felt horrible for the kid because, he was in our 1,000-pound club. He's the only one that made the 1,000-pound club this year, and that's with squats, bench, and power cleans, which pretty phenomenal thing to be a kid that turned 15 this summer. He didn't turn 15 till it was June, and to be 1,000 pounds with those 3 lifts is just astronomical. And he had put in so much work and was so excited and was really ready for another just tremendous year. And then to see that happen, sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, in your mind, you thought about not playing him at all in the scrimmage. And my thought process was, I don't want him to get rolled up on or something to happen to him. I know what he can do. I don't need him to show me anything. We need him for the year. And I thought, well, let him just have a couple hits, just get back into the swing of things, and he'll play 5 offensive plays, and it was the 3rd offensive play. And I happened to give him the ball. And, it was a freak thing. I mean, I was right there. I watched it. I could see it. It's plain as day, and I watched it on film, and, it was not something you'd look at and be like, oh, man, he just blew his knee out. And he did. And, I just feel bad for him because of how hard he works. But I knew our team, it would just create some opportunities for our kids to step up and take on roles that maybe we didn't think and they didn't think they would take on. And, they've done a great job with that.
Well, hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
That's easy to go back and say. But at the same time, devil's advocate on that. He needs to get a couple reps just so you aren't breaking the rust off first game. Other thing with that too, he's on the sideline now, still leading.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I love what I'm seeing, and that's the culture. That's the culture thing. He's there cheering him on. He's dancing. He was in the wheelchair the one day. He's got the leg out, and he's dancing in his wheelchair. Like I loved it. Just sitting there, and you're like, those are the type of kids. This is why you coach. You get to be around guys. They make you better as a coach. Those type of kids.
No doubt about it. They definitely do. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have quite a few of them last couple of years. But he's the epitome of a teammate. I mean, he'll do all the work and want no glory or anything for it, just because he just wants to be better. And he'll be the first one to cheer on his teammates when they're doing something, even though he can't be out there. And I know that's hard for him not to be there.
I'll send you away with a 6-pack, as we will with all our guests. We'll give them a 6-pack.
You.
Reese's, Twix, or Snickers?
Reese's.
Twix.
Funnier Manning, Eli or Peyton?
Peyton.
I say Peyton.
What career would you rather have, Nick Foles or Donovan McNabb?
Nick Foles.
Who cares? They're both professional athletes.
Come on, man.
One's
You gotta
got
go.
a Super Bowl. One's got a long career.
A long career, NFC Championship.
Probably
game.
Hall of Fame.
I'll take McNabb.
McNabb. Okay. Favorite thing to eat at Thanksgiving?
Ham.
Ham.
Turkey.
Turkey.
All right. Here's the last 2. I think I went past 6-pack because you guys been so
definitely
good.
did.
I'm going to add you a couple ones in there. Worst sting, a bee or a jellyfish sting? Have you had either one, and can you compare either one?
I've been stung by bees and wasps and hornets. I've fortunately never been stung by a jellyfish, but my kids have, so I'll go bee.
Well,
I've only been stung by a bee, so.
so you're going to go bee. That's it.
Yeah, I'll go
All right. How many golf balls can you hold in one hand?
I mean,
Just a number.
Come on.
6.
All right. Ryan, that's what we got. We're from the booth, man. We're going to give it each and every week. We appreciate these guys. Big game this week. Good luck to you guys. Get after them. And maybe a showdown. We're not talking about it, but I can because I'm a broadcaster. Maybe down the road, Selinsgrove, Milton. That would be a blast.
Thanks for having us. We
Yep.
appreciate
Thank
it
you.
very much.
Murphy, play the music. I was